Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today we're going to tie a iron blue dun. The hook that I have in the vise this is a standard dry fly hook. It is a Maruto D31 SSC. This is a size 14. This is a dry fly hook, nice fine wire, very sharp hooks. You can get these from frostyfly.com. I'm going to use a gray thread, and this is 16-aught Vivus. When you're getting into the dry flies, you want to get your thread, get that skinnier thread. I wouldn't use anything more than an 8-aught. We're going to start that thread behind the eye of the hook, and we're going to come back halfway. And then we're going to bring that forward half of that. And that's going to be where we're going to put our wing. For our wing, I have Goose Quill. These are wing feathers from a goose. And we're going to use a right and a left. And you can see I already have one already sized. What we're going to do is take that feather, we're going to touch it to the shank and poke the point of the hook through. And that's going to be the size. I'm going to trim them off. And it's important to have a right and a left feather. And having that right and the left feather, you're going to use the natural convex or the curves, not natural concurves or convex parts of the feather to get a natural split in the wing. I have those tips aligned, and you can see that natural curves. I have the convex sides together. And when we do that, there's also that natural slant on the tips. You want to keep that on the top. And we want that to be about the size of the hook shank. So I'm going to measure it up. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to make a loose loop, just holding the thread between my fingers. Then I'm going to pull straight down on it, and you'll see the fronts. You can see them beginning to come up, and then pull them until they're tight. Then take a couple more turns on it, and then you can wrap it towards the rear. I'm going to cut this at a bit of an angle. Then I'm going to continue back to the tail. When we get back up to the wing, then we'll stand them up and divide them. We're going to bring that just to the where it just starts to bend. Now for the tail, I'm going to use, this is blue dun Hackle. And I'm going to use this long, stiff sections. You can see the web, that's not stiff. That web part down there. You want to use those tips. So I'm going to pull some of this off, just to get it out of my way. I'm going to take a section, maybe about 3/8 to a half. Stand them up so you have the tips aligned, and then pull them all off at the same time. You can see the butts aren't exactly aligned. I'm going to trim that butt, and I want them to be about the same length, the length of the hook shank, and I know there's some inside my finger, so loose loop, pull it straight down, and then you can go ahead and tighten it. And get that tail on there. If you have a problem with it rolling, that means you probably went too far around, but you can also fix it by putting a wrap underneath the tail. You get them standing up again. Now, for the butt, I'm going to use some rusty red dubbing. It's actually rabbit fur, but this is going to work fine. Just a small amount. We just want, it's going to be almost like an egg sac. It's a small little noodle there. Go ahead and tie that in. Now, I have a little bit too much on there. I can either pull it off. It's coming off pretty easily, so I'm just going to pull it off. Or you could go ahead and wind that in, the extra, wind it in. And then you can bring your thread back and just go over it with the dubbing for the next color. Okay, and the body of this is going to be, I'm going to use Adams Gray. And here I'm going to make another pretty skinny noodle. Remember, you can always add more. I got my noodle. We're going to wrap that forward. And it should end just behind the wings. I'm at the wing again. I'm going to stand the wing up. I'm holding that tight. You don't want to move your fingers. But then I'm wrapping in front of it, and I'm actually touching the wing with my thread. You don't want to go back on it, but you just want it to slide right down. And we got upright and almost completely divided. You can take a figure 8 in there. Be careful because the quill wings will split on you. I'm going to go once, twice, and see, we got a little bit of a split there. I'm going to marry them back together. Just by running your fingers up them. You get them married pretty good. We're going to leave them just there. They're leaning forward there a little bit, but we're going to leave them there for now. I'm going to take a blue dun hackle and pick out a size 14 hackle. And if you don't have, you should have yourself one of these here. This is a hook and hackle gauge. There's a hole there. It goes right on the stem of your vise. And you wrap the hackle around that pin, and there's numbers on there, and it tells you what size it is. After you do several hundred of them, you'll get to be able to see the size without using it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little crew cut. Stand them up. Stand those hackles up at the 90 degree. Is that a nice little crew cut there? Actually going to go a little bit more. Now I'm going to take that hackle, I'm going to put it right between the wings. But I'm going to leave a little bit of that crew cut not wrapped in. Go straight down, and be careful because you can push the far wing away. I'm going to grab my wings, get them out of the way, and I'm going to secure it in front. Come right up to that wing again with it, and now we have them standing up nicely. Giving it that crew cut gives the thread something to hold on to. It won't slip. You won't pull it out. I'm going to put my hackle pliers on there because this feather is small. We're going to start wrapping, and now we got a half a wrap done, and having that crew cut, that first wrap, there's no hackle fibers sticking out towards the rear. We're going to wrap nice tight wraps. I'm going to give it one more in back. And now when I reach the wing, I'm going to hold that wing back one more time. I'm going to rub that hackle against the wing and bring it straight down. And that is going to, it's not going to give you a gap on this side where the wing is. It's going to fill that gap in. Now we're simply going to take that hackle up and give it that one last wrap, and then I'm going to tie this in. Take my hackle pliers off, keep that tight. If you let go, you're in trouble. Then we're going to go and give that a few more wraps. Going to hold everything back and put a couple wraps right in front. Now I can go ahead and break this off or cut it off. I'm going to take my poke and snip, aka cuticle trimmer, and just snip that. Now we got a number of hackles sticking out towards the front there. So I'm going to take my half hitch tool, and I'm going to put a single, just one, double half hitch in, wrap it around twice. I like to roll it to get it up. That keeps it tight. And push those hackles back just a little bit. And you pull that off, and it clears away the hackle from the front of by the eye. Now I can make the head. Take my whip finish, get that in there nice and tight. Take the poke and snip once again, trim off the thread. Now I'm going to put a little bit of head cement on there. I'm going to clean my brush off pretty good. You don't need a lot. I'm going to turn it there just a little bit to get to. And there we go. And if you do happen to get some in the eye of the hook, just take a spare feather that's laying around and run it through the eye. If I can get this on the first try, there we go, got it. And run it through the eye, and that'll clean it. And here we have an iron blue done. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. Please visit my sponsors. And most of all, I thank you very much for watching my videos.